What's up, and welcome back to the Ramble On Podcast, episode 41. It is the home of your 14 seed in the A10 tournament, 8-23 Loyola Chicago Ramblers. My name is Zach Coe, and I'm joined, as always, by my five-star co-host, George Gabra. George, we didn't get an episode out last week. I know you were feeling a little bit under the weather towards the end of the week when we were planning on recording. No matter, I want to kick things off with one simple question to you. Why not us? Why not us?
That is a very good question, and I know that I think you're a little more bullish than them on the team. On Loyola than I am, but still, you got to be feeling a lot better than you were a week and a half ago. You finished the season with 2 wins out of your final 3 games. The only game you lost was the game that we knew they weren't going to win, going into St. Louis playing the Billikens, and even then, you hung tough. You covered that game. You looked good. You fought hard. I know losing by 14, a lot of people say, well, I mean, how can you look good? But how we've looked this season playing a team like St. Louis, losing by 14, it just by the eye test, watching this team all year, they looked a lot better. They fought hard there. So even in the loss, played much better. And it's just nice to finally win a couple of games. I know we sent that gif out on the Twitter of Kevin Malone from The Office when he finally wins something. I forget exactly what it is, but it's just nice to win one. And you know what? It is just nice to win one. But you know what's better than winning one? Winning 2. So we will take that nice little, winning. Well, let's do the math here. So they won on Saturday. You add 5 more to that. That's 6 in a row. Then you're dancing. And then you win 6 more. You're cutting down the nets in Indianapolis. So 1 down, 11 to go.
Yep, just what's a little 12-game winning streak for guys like us?
But team that's just won however many games this year. 8 games.
8.
133% increase on the win total.
Yeah, I believe. Why not us? But just quickly on your point about St. Louis, and we'll get into that game a little bit. I know we're not going to spend too much time on a lot of these games because at this point, it's all eyes ahead to the A10 tournament kicking off tomorrow against Richmond. But yeah, okay, how can you play well and still lose by 14? But this is a game that opened as a 27.5-point line and then got steamed down to 21.5. This is a conference game that opened at almost 28 points. So yeah, I would say only losing by 14 is really good. They showed a lot of heart against by far the best team in the conference, against one of the best teams in the country, not just the conference. So yeah, it's encouraging, and I definitely think I'm a little bit bullish, and I'm like the breeze. I can go as negative as possible when things are going bad, and then signs of life, I'm immediately back in, and we'll continue to hash it out. But I want to start with this game against Richmond on February 28th. Win over the Spiders, who again are your pillow fight opponent in the first round of the A10 tournament, a 69-66 win. Miles Rubin showing you why he's your best player. He led the way with 19 points. You had a lead of 14 with 11 minutes to go, but again, you see a team sneak back into it, 9 second-half turnovers, leading to 14 Spider points, but it's at least encouraging to me that this is the team that we now draw in the pillow fight, because it's a team you've already seen you beat, and it's a team where your best player took over and said, I'm the best player. Richmond does not have the size to contain a player like Miles Rubin, and we're going to get into it, but it's a really good three-point shooting and 3-point defending team. So if you're going to win this second game against them, you're going to have to copy that format and copy that formula from the first one to get through them. But I don't know if you have anything else on this one. I do have I have one non-basketball point to make, but I'll let you talk about the game first.
Yeah, again, this was over about a week and a half ago, and we're going to see them tomorrow afternoon on USA Network. So looking forward to that game, obviously, but it was just, again, it was nice to win this game at home in front of your home crowd. I don't know, it didn't look like there was that many people there just based on how the season had gone, and they'd only won 1 conference game to that point, but still, the fans love to see it. Almost gave it away there in the end, but they were able to hold on, and the dominance in the paint here was what really stood out, and we'll talk about this when we preview this game, but just being able to out-rebound them, Miles, the best player on the floor, going for 19 points and 5 rebounds, and just dominating down low, both offensively and defensively. That's what you're going to have to do here tomorrow afternoon. That's what they did here in this game at home, and they're not going to have the home crowd behind them on tomorrow, but it's in Pittsburgh. I can't imagine Richmond, a team that went 5-11 in conference play, even though geographically they're a little closer, is going to have that much of an advantage in terms of fan support, if any. I don't know how many people are going to be at this game, but I would guess not very many people.
Yeah, I would also. I don't think the folks at PPG Paints Arena are gonna be flooding to see the Spiders versus the Ramblers in this one. Maybe I'll get my guy Jacob Lassner, former coworker of mine, that's now the executive producer of Penguins Radio. Maybe he'll step out and support the Ramblers. He's always looking to jump on board. If he's there, he'll send me a picture. I know that for sure.
Okay.
So,
well, we got to get him there.
Yeah, we got to. I mean, maybe that could be the difference, getting my guy Jacob over there. I'll shoot him a text once we're done recording, see if he's got any plans to. But just one last thing on this game against Richmond. Obviously, it was a cerebral palsy awareness game. Drew's daughter has cerebral palsy. It's something that I've been open about last year. I don't know if we talked about it on the podcast. Obviously, you know this, George, but I have cerebral palsy.
I believe we did, yeah.
Yeah. Just kind of rehashing that on the podcast this year. Just good to see Drew kind of stepping up and getting the school involved in an initiative that not a lot of people know about. I mean, Drew talked about it on his post game with Sudi and CT, that like he remembers sitting in the hospital with his daughter in the NICU for however long. I think he said 2 months, not knowing if his daughter was going to live or die. It's not something that a ton of people know about. Obviously, I'm pretty thankful to not have a super severe case of it, but yeah, just want to reiterate, I think it's a great cause for Drew and his family and the school in general to be bringing awareness to. So yeah, just wanted to do that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's always great. I remember they did that last year. Something that's obviously very near and dear to your heart, very near and dear to our coach's heart. And just having something go through like that that's serious enough where you're in the hospital, not knowing what the fate of your own child is going to be, is obviously not good. And thank God that everything worked out. And this is just a great thing that they have every single year. So very glad they did it. Very cool to see. Yeah, I mean, it's just an awesome event.
Yeah, so that was the second annual. I want to say they won last year too. So 2-0.
I believe they did.
Palsy
Yep.
awareness game. So next year, I don't think there's going to be a change at the coaching position. So next year it'll be 3 in a row, and we'll see where we go from there. But yeah, props to the school, props to everyone for buying into this event and bringing awareness to something that definitely needs it. Moving on to the next one, I don't have too much on the St. Louis game. I feel like we kind of covered it well. There was a game plan. They were able to execute it. It didn't result in a win, but there were 5 guys that bought into what the coaching staff was selling. And at this point in the season, that's all that really matters to me. This team just as easily could have rolled over and died, but they didn't. And I think that everyone from the coaching staff to the players deserve a lot of credit to that. And those 5 guys that were out there, I think, like I said, they deserve a lot of credit.
100% they do. And this is a game where you could have gone in and the vibes certainly haven't been great all season long, and you could say to yourself, well, we're playing St. Louis. I believe they were ranked number 25 at the time this game was played. And yeah, they were ranked number 25 when this game was played. And I know they lost to George Mason. They actually got killed by George Mason on Saturday. I think they're still firmly in the tournament. But regardless, you're going into
sucks. The bubble is so fucking bad. If
terrible.
They're not in,
somehow Auburn is on the bubble, and they're 500, and they've lost like 7. Yeah, wait, that different discussion for. I know we're gonna do a whole episode on that, but yeah, St. Louis, you could go in there thinking, well, they're gonna mollywop us, and we're gonna get killed, and we have no chance to win. And to be fair, I mean, they did have a chance to win, but the chance was very, very small, maybe about this big for those of you that are looking on the YouTube. Maybe even smaller than that. But at least they went out there and fought. That's what you want to see from guys when things aren't going your way. You want to see fight. You want to see that guys care. You don't want to see them go out there and just, well, who cares? I'm not going to try. I'm not going to give it my 100%. I'm not going to dive for loose balls. I'm not going to try and grab rebounds. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. That's not what we saw. We saw guys try. We saw guys who actually cared. And again, we've said this time and time again, that speaks to, although we have not been very kind to Drew Valentine and the coaching staff all season long, that speaks to the coaching staff because it shows that these guys at this point, they are listening to the message, the guys that are in, that have bought in, and credit to those guys. Hats off to those guys, and hats off to the coaching staff for having a team that's ready to go at a time when they had only won 2 games in conference play.
Yeah, I echo everything you said. Like you said, it's credit to all those guys. It's good to see. And honestly, like it didn't result in a win, but these last 3 have been some of the most entertaining games that they've played all season. I mean, obviously there was the Santa Clara game, and we're coming off that one, going into conference play, thinking that we're maybe turning a corner. And in Santa Clara, I don't think they're going to, but they got a puncher's chance against Gonzaga tonight. You could be talking about having a win over a team that's going to end up winning the WCC, beating Gonzaga and St. Mary's en route to doing that. So
I think they're in, the Broncos.
Yeah.
From what I've been
definitely.
Hearing and what I've seen, they're in, and you beat them. So
yeah,
technically, I think you made the tournament too by the whatever.
The circle of whatever. Yeah. I think a lot of people, when it happened, everyone's like, oh, like it's going to be very funny on Selection Sunday when Santa Clara is one of the first 4 teams out, and they're like, well, they lost to Loyola Chicago, kind of similar to Clemson a couple years ago when they ended up being on the wrong side of the bubble. But yeah, I think Santa Clara is firmly in now after beating St. Mary's last night.
I agree.
Last one, senior night. Ramblers win 68 to 62 over the Revolutionaries. Nice little plus 460 money line winner for your boy. On the 10.5. Cade Dotson leading the way with 17 points. I don't have too much on this one. I listened to the entirety of the game on the radio because I was driving home from work and then got a flat tire when I was like 10 minutes away from my house. So I only listened to this one on the radio. Obviously, as always, CT and Sudi doing an incredible job painting the picture of the game, but I didn't go back and watch this one. I just have 2 notes on senior night as a whole. I wanted to talk about this leading up to it, but obviously we didn't do an episode. It really sucks that 2 guys that have meant a lot to this program weren't able to suit up one last time for the Gentile crowd and probably won't be able to wear this uniform again, as Kamani Winsu was on crutches and Caleb Reese was in a cast. But obviously they've meant a lot to the program in different ways. Caleb Reese is a guy who came in as a walk-on and he worked his ass off until he got a scholarship. I think this is a guy that we've been fairly critical of his play on the court, but I think we've been realistic about it. He played to his capabilities, and that's commendable. But again, this is a guy, these guys matter on the end of your bench. These hype men, these walk-ons, guys that are willing to give your one team, I forget which one's which, maroon or gold team. I think maroon is the starters and gold is the backups. But the gold team that comes in and they're able to execute the other team's game plans, able to give them a good look and bust their ass, and then also be the hype men on the end of the bench. Obviously, we know how much Caleb Reese has meant to this program. And again, I think that anytime you have a walk-on that works his ass off and winds up with a scholarship, that's something that should be applauded. And he was able to do that. So it sucks that he wasn't able to get his standing ovation coming off that Gentile court for it the last time. And Kamani Winsu is a guy that we have we've given him his props more than enough times
his praises,
last year. Yeah, he stepped up last year. He's not a point guard, and Justin Moore goes down and he says, you need a ball handler, I'm your ball handler. He's a guy who says, you want me to jump? How high? Like, it's just a guy, he comes in, he's a lunch pail guy, and we talked about it at the beginning of the season. You need more guys like Kamani Winsu who come in from Eastern Washington and Washington State, not Eastern Washington, Washington State, and immediately ingratiate themselves into the culture and understand what it means to play Loyola basketball. There simply were not enough Kamani Winsus in this year's transfer portal class, and that is very, very commendable for him. And it sucks that his knees just weren't able to hold up for him to play this season.
Yep, I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. Too bad that those guys couldn't go out there because you really didn't have too many guys who have played for a while or even started with the program that were able to have their moment, and those are 2 guys that we've had a lot of respect for since they've been here, and since doing this show, we always, I think, talk highly of them because they're always out there giving it their best and playing hard. So it was too bad that they weren't able to go out there and have their moment, especially in a victory here in this game. But we know how much they've meant to this program throughout the years, and wish them all the best in what they're going to be doing here moving on. And hopefully the ride isn't over tomorrow and they can keep playing after tomorrow. But we will see. I don't know. Is there any health update on those guys for tomorrow or?
Not that I've seen, but like I said, Reese was in a cast and Kamani was on crutches, so I can't imagine that either of those guys are going to be.
That'll probably do it. Yeah.
Yeah, which does put them in a precarious position ball handling wise, but we'll get to that once we get into the preview.
Yeah, so too bad for those guys, but that's just sports and it is what it is. Injuries, it's gonna kill you, but I mean, again, that's how it goes. But yeah, I mean, just in terms of this game, it was a big win, a good win. They look good. I thought that just a big win. Xavier Amos, we didn't touch on him in that St. Louis game, but he was on fire to start that first half. He had a big game, and he didn't have as big of a game here, but still 15 points, 50% from the field and the 3-point line. Cade Dotson was 17, another nice game. So just a very nice win here for Loyola at home on Senior Day. Send the guys out on a high note here, the last home game of the season, and hopefully they can use that to capitalize here with some momentum going into tomorrow.
Yeah, let's just touch on those two guys that have been a big part of it. I think of the 5 guys that have completely bought in, obviously Miles Rubin, there was no need for any buy-in from him, but Xavier Amos and Cade Dotson have really been the story of these last couple games. Sudi, I assume, is who put together these superlatives and stats on the RSN Twitter feed, so I'll check those out. I'm going to read off a bunch of them here. Cade Dotson, he took the primary point guard role the last 4 games, playing 31 and a half minutes per game, 3 assists per game, a 2.4 assist to turnover ratio, averaging 18 points on 50% from the field, 62% from 3. In that win against George Washington, he had a career high 37 minutes played and another career high 5 assists. So he's been obviously a huge part of things. And then Xavier Amos, who is a guy that it feels like Drew, he kind of continuously challenged him throughout the season of like when he's locked in, when he's dialed in, we know just how good of a player Xavier Amos can be. And well, I say he's pretty dialed in. 25 against St. Louis, the number 25 team in the country at the time, averaging 20 points per game, 64% from the field, 69% from beyond the arc, 4 rebounds per game. 8 rebounds against George Washington. We mentioned it. The 25 against SLU was 6 threes. He's a really dynamic scorer, and it's something that we talked about with him in the past, where he can get open looks from 3 and also get downhill and get to the basket, forcing the other team to foul him and send him to the line. So I think he's a piece to build on moving forward. And the fact that he's finally seemed to have dialed it in after getting challenged repeatedly by the head coach. Like I said, I think that's a credit to him for buying into the program and buying into the mentality. And it's a credit to Drew for pushing the right buttons to get to unlock something in this guy that he knew was in there and was finally able to get there.
Yeah, 100% agree. If he can keep playing like that, and man, if he could have 25 tomorrow, I think we're definitely going to win that game. So hats off to the coaching staff to get him and a lot of these other guys bought in here at the right time. And hopefully it's something that can work tomorrow and beyond tomorrow, and they can keep doing what they have been doing, because with those performances, when you're shooting 50% from the field, like Amos did in this game against George Washington, and when you start the game, I forget what it was, but he was just, I think it was 4 of 4, 5 of 5 from 3, could not miss. That was against St. Louis, unfortunately, but if you do that against a team like Richmond tomorrow, you're going to have a good shot at winning the game. So let's hope that can continue.
Absolutely. One guy I also want to give some flowers to is Daywalk Tavares, who I was listening back to Drew's post-game comments after that GW game, and they got asked about him, not just his shooting, but facilitating defensively, and Drew kind of sung his praises as a leader and a budgeting leader, and flashing the Loyola or the blurs on the chest. I forget what uniform they were wearing, but like it seems like he's a guy who we've bashed quite a bit, to be honest. I picked him as my newcomer of the year. I was expecting a high-flying offensive season from him, where I was expecting him to, and this isn't fair to him because admittedly I wasn't locked into College of Charleston basketball last year, except for the game that they played us in. So I was expecting him to not put up 30 points on any given night, but I was expecting him to be able to have that type of prowess. And we really haven't seen it. I think at times the shot selection has been pretty bad. If we're being blunt, I think that he's shooting, the last time I looked, it was pretty close to a career low in terms of 3-point percentage from the field. So yeah, it's a guy that we've given a fair share of shit to, and Drew sung his praises as a leader, as a guy that you need. He's taken on more ball handling duties, which is, again, something that you're going to need with no Justin Moore, no Kamani Winsu, and no Caleb Reese in this game tomorrow, and then moving forward. Spoiler alert, I have them winning tomorrow, so you're going to need that moving forward too. So yeah, credit to him stepping up as a leader. We were saying it before we hit the record button, but this isn't a guy that I was necessarily pegging as a leader. This is his career low in 3-point percentage. Also, just a quick note for Daewon Tavares. Also a career low in field goal percentage by a pretty good margin. But yeah, credit to him. He's stepping up as a leader, and there were too many guys that throughout the season, we said it, Drew said it, everybody said it, that were playing for the name on the back of the jersey, not the name on the front. And now we have guys that are finally putting things together to play for the name on the front. And we've gone through all of them. I think Daniil Glazkov is another one who's done a great job of buying into the program. He's a guy who Drew has mentioned it a lot, but he was very raw. He didn't find a lot of playing time for himself last year. Still, again, something that Drew loved all season. Cade Dotson played less minutes than Daniil Glazkov as freshman. But he's carving out a role for himself. This is a guy that could have done what Saif Endawi, Jack Turner, any of these guys did, and they came in as freshmen, didn't play a lot of minutes, and they left for greener pastures / more playing time, which I don't begrudge those guys for doing that, but I also think that Daniil deserves a lot of credit for sticking it out, not playing a whole lot last year, and then finally the second half of conference play this year, carving out a role for himself and putting together a really nice stretch of games. So yeah, I think those 5 guys, a lot of credit to them in a season where you had the 14 seed in the tournament, in the conference tournament, locked up with, I want to say it was 2 weeks left in the regular season. It would have been just as easy for these guys to pull a Dom Harris and say, you know what, I got my bag, I'm out of here, and give up and quit on the coaching staff. And these guys haven't done that, whether it be Nick Anderson. I think we've seen a lot out of Alex Richardson lately, besides that game against St. Louis. Yeah, it would have been super easy to just roll over and die. And these 6 or 7 guys, 6, 7, haven't done that.
Yeah, no, they have not. Excuse me, they have not. And that's good to see. And I think you've seen it. That's why we won a couple of games here, and that's why we look pretty good against St. Louis, even though it was in that loss. Is that guys have started to buy in more. The guys have started to play harder. And that's something we've been preaching from the mountaintop since the beginning of the season when they had that buzzer beater against Cleveland State. Then they lost to Mercyhurst, which Mercyhurst, by the way, I think they're playing Long Island right now for the NEC title. Just
Long
fun
Island
fact.
Sharks.
That wasn't.
Fins up.
Yep, that wasn't fins up. Yeah, that wasn't as bad of a loss as it looked at the time. It's still not a great loss, but again, just from then to now, I think the team has made a lot of improvements, a lot of adjustments, and a lot of those improvements and adjustments have just been playing harder and trying harder on defense, and that's such a big part of basketball. I mean, defense is what? It's definitely at least 51% effort. I mean, I know there's a lot of skill involved certainly there too, but it is certainly more effort than it is skill. And we've seen it a lot where, I mean, you pulled that clip, I think it was against Northern Illinois, where just guys walking on defense when we're losing to we are also a 300 level net team, but losing to a 300 level net team at home, guys walking,
they just fired their
not,
coach.
Yeah. So you saw that time and time again this year. And I mean, we've said it time and time over and over so many times that this just wasn't the right group of guys in a transfer portal era, and that's what happens. But these guys have taken the torch, so to say. They've been playing so much better, and with that, I think they certainly have a chance to win a game or two. Or I know you, I think we'll save that for a little later, but I think we're both feeling pretty good about this team not winning the tournament, but at least finishing the season on a high note and building some momentum for next year.
Yeah, and I think with that we can get into this conference tournament preview. So the first thing I wanted to look at, and I'll preface this by saying I opened the episode with why not us, and I think there's a litany of reasons as to why not us. But we've seen this team play winning basketball for stretches against every single one of these teams except for St. Louis. VCU, Dayton, maybe St. Joe's. I don't think we saw it against them. They got blitzed pretty good in the two matchups against them. But these are all beatable teams, and we've seen the talent level shine through. So I do think, obviously, they would need to go on such an improbable, such a magical run. I want to say they're plus 30,000 to win the tournament. The best
I think
odds.
they're either 300 or 500 to 1.
Yeah, so they are
depending
not.
Depending on what, we'll just say 500 to 1.
Let's pull it up right now. Where's the A10 on Pickett? Yeah, 500 to 1. They are to win the A10 tournament, plus 50,000 on the Score Bet and DraftKings if you want to take them there. So there's a litany of reasons as to why this team is not going to win the A10 tournament, but I do think that they can run with anyone, and if the right set of circumstances came about, like, sure, they could run the table. I don't foresee that happening. We'll get to the bracket, but we've seen them play winning basketball, and I said this to you the other day when I said spoiler alert again, I have them winning 3 games. So I said this, like, we've seen them play winning basketball against all these teams, and it's been about not being able to put together a full 40-minute effort. And I think now we've seen closer to a full 40-minute effort from this team and finally seeing them start to buy in. So I do think that they can run with anyone. I think they can beat anyone in this conference. It's just about 5 wins in 5 days. It's simple as that. I pulled the stats from the pillow fight since they began in 2015. The furthest one of those teams has made it is St. Joe's and LaSalle in 2023, both making it to the quarterfinals. So not a very good track record. And when I was scrolling through all of the tournaments, it was a while until I want to say that these two teams in 2023 were the first team to make it out of the second game. So every other team who won the pillow fights just lost in their second round, except for St. Joe's and LaSalle. So obviously not a good track record. I don't think that they're going to win this tournament, but I think as long as they continue to show that they're still bought in, that this coaching staff message hasn't gone stale, I think that's a success. I even think winning tomorrow and then putting up a fight against St. Joe's in the second round, right? Or Davidson. And then
Davidson, and then St. Joe's.
I think like running with Davidson and even beating Davidson is a success if you lose to St. Joe's. Like, I think just showing that this coaching staff's message hasn't gone stale, and that's not to say that I don't think there needs to be changes made, because I still do. I'm fine giving Drew another year, but I think aside from that, the entire coaching staff and the way that they do things needs to be reworked, because obviously things went horribly, horribly wrong. You were one of the biggest disappointments, not only among mid-majors, but in the entirety of college basketball this year. You were a team that was picked to finish 5th in the conference, and you finished dead last. You didn't even break double-digit wins. So I do think something obviously needs to change. But yeah, I'm curious where you fall on that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly not as high on them as you. I do think they've been playing a lot better, but even playing a lot better, I just don't think is good enough to. I mean, I think they're going to win tomorrow. I am picking them to win tomorrow. I think getting 5.5 points. I do think they're going to beat Richmond. Richmond is not very good. We saw that when we played them a week and a half ago. But after that, I do think Davidson, who I think they handled us pretty good in both games that we played them. I remember we lost by about 15 when we played them at home in January. Let me get the scores here. Davidson, 79-64 in January when we played them at home, and then they beat us 84-64.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Davidson, it's not like they're a world beater of a team, but they do have some good players, and we saw that, and they got a lot of guys who play together as a team. They don't have the one standout like they had Reed. I'm forgetting his last name, but Reed something. He was
Bailey.
really good for them.
Bailey. He's on Indiana now, right?
Indiana now, yeah. So they don't have that one standout player, but they did. kind of hand it to us both times we played. And I don't mean to be a downer, but I don't know. I can see us winning tomorrow, but past that, I think it'd be a bit of a stretch just because I don't know. The guys have been playing a lot better, but I just don't think the talent is there to get further than that.
Yeah, I definitely, oh, Jesus Christ, sorry. I have the Virginia Tech Wake Forest game on ACC Network, and on the bottom ticker, they were showing ACC baseball scores, and BC and UConn are in the ninth inning of a 26-17 baseball game.
Oh, it sounds like a football game. That's crazy.
What a banger. But yeah, I definitely am leaning more on the optimistic side of things. Like I said, I don't know why. Once things, I go from every side of the extremes. It's when things are going bad, they can't get worse, and when things are going well, I'm like, fuck it, we're winning the whole thing. Why not us? But yeah, so let's dive into that game against the Richmond Spiders, 1 o'clock Central on USA Network. You said it, Richmond's laying 5.5. Obviously, we talked about it earlier, but Ramblers win that first matchup at home, 69-66. What do you have on the Spiders?
Well, the Spiders 15-16. We talked about Chris Mooney. He's been there for a couple decades, and usually this team and this program is towards the top of the conference. But over the last several years, since 2022, when they had that run where they won the tournament, got in on the automatic bid, and then beat Iowa as a 12 seed, they have gone downhill. So 15-16 in the regular season, 5-13 in A10 play, 152nd in the net, 144th in KenPom, with an offensive rating of 129th, defensive rating of 190th. AJ Lopez, he led them in points per game this season at 13.6, and he put 23 up against us that Saturday. He's over 40% from beyond the arc, so he's a really good three-point shooter. And in the last game, he went 4 for 7 from back there. So something we're going to have to keep an eye on here. They are 41st in the country in three-point percentage at 36.7% and 86th in defending the three. So again, we're going to have to win this game in the paint like we did in the first matchup. I think to win this game, though, yeah, like I said, to win this game, we do need to dominate the glass. We won that battle 38-25 a week and a half ago. Get a big game out of Miles. He went 19-5 in the last matchup, led the team in points, and shoot 50% or around there from the field, because we shot exactly 50% from the field. We were getting good shots down low. Our size was able to win that battle there. I don't think we're going to be able to win the 3-point battle like we did last game. Let me pull up the numbers for that real quick, because I know we did
8 for 32 for Richmond from 3, 25%. Loyola went 5 of 16, good for 31%.
Okay, so they made more, but in terms of percentages, we won. And then better. I like that because it wasn't working necessarily for us like it has been most of the game. They only attempted 16 shots from outside the arc, and they saw what was working down low and getting the ball inside. And if we can do that tomorrow, I think we're going to win. And I believe this is the first time I'm predicting us to win since the boots on the ground boost against Duquesne, which obviously we did not win. But yeah, I'm picking us to win this game tomorrow. I think if we can do those things, down low, dominate on offense and defense, down low in the painted area, we're going to get a win.
Yeah, and I mean, talk about executing your game plan. Richmond ranks 86th in the country in three-point defense, allowing opponents to shoot 32.1% from beyond the arc, and this is a team with not a lot of size. So instead of doing what we've seen this team do countless times, where it's just jack up the dumbest possible threes, whether you're open or not, because you think it's your turn to shoot, we saw them execute a game plan and get the ball down low to your best player. And guess what? If you just keep force feeding the ball down low to your bigs, that's going to open up the 3-point game as they start to bite down on that. And obviously you only take 16 threes in this first matchup, but you shoot 31%, fine. That's all well and good, but when you're getting the ball in your best player's hands, good things happen. And I think the next step to that is getting Miles the ball down low, and obviously the next step is going to be next season with probably a completely different lineup and roster, if we're being realistic about things. But there too many times we see Miles Rubin get the ball in the high post, and then just dribble, 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 and everyone else is just standing around the arc completely still. Like, somebody needs to move, somebody needs to get open, somebody needs to
Cut to the
create something on
basket.
offense. Yeah, any number of things, especially because I think in one area that we've seen Miles Rubin grow in so much this year is as a passer, which is crazy to me. Like, we never, and it's something that we haven't really acknowledged at all, but Miles has become a very decent, very good passer, I'll say. He's not a great passer, but he's become a much better passer, averaging 2.2 assists per game this year, which is up from 1.3 last year and 0.7 in his freshman year. So if you just can maneuver around him and let the offense work around Miles, which is the way that it should have been working all season, then good things can happen. I think that you have the formula to beat Richmond. You have already done it, which I think is a great first step in that. And that's definitely why I feel so confident going into this one that they're going to be able to get the job done, is that we've already seen them beat this team. So if you just do what you did in the first one, you'll be in good shape, aside from trying to give the game away at the end. But
Yeah.
that's kind of besides the point.
Yeah. I mean, he's your best player for a reason, and they have not used him right all season long. And you just get the ball to him down low in the paint, let him go to work, and good things are going to happen. And I think it helps the entire offense too, because you're able to run more things. You're able to get more guys open because the focal point is going to be on stopping the guy who keeps scoring on you down low, and that's Miles Rubin. So if they can do that like they did in the last game, and they can do that tomorrow on the USA Network, I think we're going to be good to go here. But I'm excited to see how this game plays out. I'm going to have a tough time watching it, I think, because I'm going to be working, but I'll definitely keep an eye on it, and hopefully we can pull out a victory and we can move on to Thursday. And I know we'll be back here again tomorrow night if they do win, and I'm hoping to do that with you, because it's always fun to go on a little run, even though I'm obviously more pessimistic. And I wish I wasn't, but that's just what this team has done to me this year. I'm to the point where I just don't see anything happening past tomorrow, but I'm hoping we can get a win tomorrow, get 3 out of 4. I don't think we've won 3 games out of 4 this entire season, and take some momentum and see where this thing can go, because it's March Madness, and madness is obviously happening all the time. So
Yeah, exactly. Nobody thought Duquesne a couple years ago was going to make the run that they made. Obviously, they weren't in the pillow fights, but let's. So
I think they were the
yeah,
7 seed, if I remember correctly.
they have not won 3 out of 4 to my best just quick glance at the schedule. Yeah, I don't think they have. But yeah, so let's get into this bracket. We'll post our complete brackets on the social medias tomorrow before the tip-off of the first pillow fight game between LaSalle and St. Bonaventure at 11:30 Eastern, so 10:30 Central.
In the first game of the day, also on the USA Network, we've got LaSalle taking on St. Bonaventure. We beat LaSalle. Excuse me. We beat LaSalle. We did not beat St. Bonaventure. We were beating them, and then we had one of our typical second half collapses that happened a lot this season. And we had that stretch there, and that was part of that stretch in January. But I'm going to go with the Bonnies in that one to take on George Mason in the Fordham George Washington game. George Washington, they've been one of the biggest disappointments in the Atlantic 10 this season. I know Rafael Castro, he's dealt with some injuries. I know he had a concussion at one point, and he's been in and out of the lineup, and that's a huge blow, because he's not only one of the best players on that team, but he's one of the best players in the entire conference. He's back, though, and I do like George Washington to win that game to get to face St. Louis. George Mason taking on St. Bonaventure. George Mason, they've been one of those teams where I've bet on them a handful of times this year, and every time I bet on them, they just completely forget how to play basketball. And then they have the game against St. Louis the other day where they boat raced them. So I don't know. George Mason is certainly a team that can make some noise. I believe they're 35-1 right now. I don't think they're going to win the tournament, but I do think they'll take care of a bad St. Bonaventure team. And then we're just doing the top half right now, and then bottom half, or
Yeah, that works.
okay. So St. Louis, George Washington. I'm going with St. Louis there. I know they have not looked as good as of late as they have all season, but they're the most talented team in the conference. They've got the best player or one of the best players in the conference, and Schertz has done a really nice job there. So I've got them going to the semifinals. Dayton versus George Mason, the 4-5 game. That should be a toss-up, but Anthony Grant's team has been playing a lot better. Dayton, they're 7-1. I believe they have the third shortest odds to win this tournament, only behind St. Louis and Virginia Commonwealth. So I like Dayton to win that game. They've been playing a lot better. And then in the matchup between St. Louis and Dayton, even though I think Dayton's got a chance to win that game, I'm not going to be picking against St. Louis in that one. I think they're going to the championship game on Sunday.
Yeah, so I'll run through my top half of the bracket. Obviously, Saturday, news breaks that Mark Schmidt is going to be retiring after he gave all of the roster control to Woj, even though Woj is now trying to spin that the other way now that it didn't work and Schmidt is being run out of town. So I think that the Bonnies are going to come out and be motivated for a really great coach that has been the best
he's been
best in
fantastic.
program history, and is now unfortunately getting run out of town by an insider that thinks he can play GM. Unfortunately, that's not the case for Woj, and I caution all the people pushing for Shams to become the Loyola GM to just be cautious with what Woj is doing over in St. Bonaventure.
Guys who can tweet can't also scout talent. I mean, maybe you can if you're got both skill sets, but one doesn't lead to the other.
No, one definitely does not lead to the other. So yeah, I think the Bonnies are going to come out and fight hard for Coach Schmidt there in what could be his last game and win that one. Fordham taking on George Washington. I got Fordham winning this one. The 8 seed taking down the 9
Rams.
seed in GW. I think that what's his name? Mark Magpio? I think it's Mike. Magpio, yeah. I think he's done a really nice job taking over a pretty difficult situation in Fordham. We saw them. DeJour Reeves is a really dynamic scorer, and I think the GW has been trending down for pretty much the entirety of conference play, and I think it all comes crashing down on them, and their season ends in a pretty disappointing fashion with a first round loss to the Rams of Fordham. I think Coach Schmidt's career comes crashing down against George Mason in the second round game. I've got Mason advancing in that one. They're one of the more popular potential bid stealers that I've seen on A10 Twitter, on college basketball Twitter as a whole. I like what Tony Skinn's been able to do there, culminating in a big blowout win against St. Louis. I'm right there with you. Every time I bet on Mason, they wind up forgetting how to play basketball. The URI game that they lost comes to mind as the big one for me there, but I think they get it done there against St. Bonaventure. As we're moving on into the quarterfinals, I've got St. Louis handling Fordham pretty easily. I think that we've seen the St. Louis slip-ups. Obviously, they dropped a couple games, but now that we're into postseason play, they're firmly in the back bracket. I think these are a couple tune-ups. I don't have them winning at all, spoiler alert, but I do think that we've seen the last of them losing to severely inferior competition, which is what Fordham is. Over on the other matchup, I've got Dayton taking down George Mason. I think the Flyers have really started to turn it on here in the last couple of weeks. Obviously, they lose against VCU, but aside from that, I think they're playing much more motivated basketball, but it is March, so that does mean that Dayton will shit their pants at some point, and I have that happening in the semifinal game against St. Louis, where I have the Billikens advancing to the championship game. I think this year there has been a clear top 2 in the A10. I think we're going to be looking at a 2-bid A10 for the first time since, I don't know when. What was the
2024? Because Duquesne,
Duquesne and
then Dayton.
Yeah,
Dayton did not have that good of a resume, but they beat Marquette early, and then they had like a couple of big wins, and then they just like kind of hobbled to the end, and somehow were an 8 seed. Dude, that's the year where they hung with Arizona in the second half.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, we hung
the banner. Yeah, we hung the banner. Yeah, banner night at UD Arena.
Yeah.
For some reason, I keep thinking that was 22 because I knew the exact teams. I don't know what in my brain is conflating 24 with 22, but that's the second or third time I've done that where I'm like, oh, 2022, and I just was fully talking about 2024. Just my stupid monkey brain. But yeah, so I have the Billikens taking down the Flyers to advance to the championship. Now we'll go to the south side of the bracket. Do you want me to just keep rolling, or do you want to take the reins, George?
Whatever you want to do. I'm good with whatever.
Let's hear your south side.
All right. Well, I've already said this, but I do have the Ramblers taking down the Spiders for the second time in 11 days, advancing to play Davidson. We'll go to the Duquesne, Rhode Island game. This game I'm going purely because Duquesne is in Pittsburgh. The game is in Pittsburgh. I have not watched too much of these two teams play. I know we also beat Rhode Island earlier, and I was at the game when we played against Duquesne, that home game, and they were able to hit the three ball, especially late, and put us away. So I like Duquesne here. They're going to have at least a little bit of a home court advantage playing in Pittsburgh. So I've got them facing Virginia Commonwealth, VCU. Next, we've got Loyola Davidson, and unfortunately, I think this is where our season ends. I have the Wildcats taking down the Ramblers here. They've dominated us in the first two matchups. I know it's hard to beat a team 3 times, and I think this game will be a lot closer just with how we've been playing. But at the end of the day, I just think Davidson is a better team, a more well-rounded team, and a more gelled team that plays better together. So I do have Davidson winning that game. In the next game, I've got VCU. I think they're going to kill Duquesne. Phil Martelli has done an unbelievable job with this team in year 2. I know this is a team that's also right on the bubble, or not right on the bubble. I think they've got a little ways to go. Right? Yep, year 1 because Odom left for Virginia after last year. A team that goes to the tournament, he takes over, and like clockwork, VCU finds another fantastic coach. So he's done a fantastic job. The Rams are plus 180 to win this tournament. And I think they're going to be able to handle Duquesne in that game. Davidson against St. Joe's. I like the Wildcats in this one. St. Joe's, they've had a really nice season in a year that a lot of people thought was going to be a rebuild, and they were able to get all the way to the number 3 seed. I know Derek Simpson, that point guard, is at a very nice season for the Hawks, but I just think Davidson is going to win that game. That when it comes to March, I think a team that's better gelled, a team that has more chemistry with one another, it's going to be a big part there. So give me Davidson in that game, and then VCU, I have them taking down the Wildcats, advancing to the championship game to take on St. Louis, the 1 versus the 2 seed. St. Louis, they're going to get into the tournament, but they're going to get in as an at-large bid. I've got the Rams of VCU winning this tournament, winning that game, punching their ticket to the dance for, I think it would be the second straight year, because they didn't make it in 24, so it would be the second straight year. Terrence Hill Jr., Lazar Djokovic have both had fantastic years for that team, averaging 28 points per game between the two of them. They don't have Joe Bassamil. They don't have, I'm forgetting his name, Max Scholga, but they always find a way to reload, and they've done that once again under a first-year head coach, and I think Martelli's going to be going to the dance in his first season with the Rams as the head man.
Alrighty, I'll run through my south side. Obviously, I have Loyola taking down Richmond in that half of the pillow fight. I also have the Dukes putting an end to the Archie Miller era at Rhode Island. I think that's a school that it should be looking at making a coaching change, as they consistently have underperformed in the second bout of the Archie Miller era. I then have the Ramblers taking down Davidson. You said it is tough to beat a team 3 times, and I just think with the way that the Ramblers are playing, that they'll be able to get to Davidson. They'll have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, similar to how against George Washington they really ran you out of their gym, so you pay back the favor. Obviously, you didn't get a chance to do that. Well, you did get a chance to do that. You failed to do that in your chance in the regular season. I think third time's the charm, so they say. Here we are again. Ramblers are moving on into the quarterfinals, taking on St. Joe's. I do have the Ramblers beating St. Joe's, but I am definitely a little bit tepid with this one, as we talked about a lot when we took on St. Joe's. They are one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the country, and one of the best one of the worst 3-point defensive teams in the country. So, and obviously they have the guy who I assume is going to be the A10 Defensive Player of the Year, even though I think Kellen Thames should win it, in Justice Ajabor. So I think that's going to make things really tough for the Ramblers. I think this is a game where you're really going to need your shooting variance to shine through. You're going to need shots to fall from beyond the arc. So I'm definitely tepid in picking the Ramblers in this one, but I am going to, just out of like, okay, you know what? I'm riding high. I'm feeling good about the way that this team's playing. I'll pick them. It's a team that I think, like you said, a lot of people weren't expecting a whole lot of after Billy Lang jumped ship right before the season started and heading to the Knicks to join their coaching staff. Former Boston College head coach Steve Donnie, who has done a really nice job kind of righting the ship here for the Hawks, but unfortunately I've got the Hawk dying in the quarterfinals against the Ramblers. On the other side, I think VCU, like you said, is going to just absolutely beat the shit out of Duquesne. They're a team that is seemingly right on the bubble, and they're a team that I think should be in. But I think this
Agreed.
is a team that's going to be very motivated.
So much disrespect.
Absolutely screwed.
I know I just said this 10 minutes ago, but it still makes me mad that Bruce Pearl is out there campaigning and Joe Lunardi is kowtowing to the SEC bias of ESPN and having them as the last four out. If they make the tournament, then that's just a complete joke. Did you say? Sorry, I'm going on a whole thing here.
No, you're good. That, I completely flip flopped my stats, so I will reverse my stats. Hawks are a really good 3-point shooting defense, and I think it's on the offensive side is where they struggle. 31.7% they're holding their opponents to, which is good for. I literally just clicked off of it because I'm an idiot. 68th in the country. I honestly, I've changed my pick now. I think they're going to lose. I just talked myself. I talked myself
out of it. Yeah. Usually you're talking yourself into it, but out of it this time.
yeah, definitely out of it. I don't even know what I was looking at when I got my stats confused. Egg on my face on that one. I've got the Rambler season coming to a halt. Now I'm curious. Now I have to look and see where they're coming in. Because did I just have them flip-flopped? Are they a bad 3-point shooting team? Is that what it is? I think that's what it is.
Yeah, I remember when we were talking about... excuse me. When we were talking about them...
2 weeks ago, yeah. I'm trying to find it right now. I hate how ESPN
This is a terrible 3-point shooting team. 334th at 30.3%. Again, this is not totally up to date. And then...
Oh, yeah, so I just had them flipped. Duh,
yeah.
I'm an idiot. Anyways, I'm an idiot.
You are not.
Donkey brain coming. 334th in 3-point made, 30.6%. So, yeah, I have flipped this. I think they're going to lose this game now. Now that I know that I had those stats flipped, that's what I get for not double-checking myself and just trying to go off of muscle memory there. Turns out my muscle is trash. Anyways, yeah, I've got the Rambler season coming to an end against St. Joe's. Unfortunately, they aren't able to break the seal of pillow fight teams advancing beyond the quarterfinals. Another team that's been super popular to be a bid stealer out of the A10 is St. Joe's. Steve Donahue has got this team playing really good basketball, and I wanted so badly, as you can all tell, to pick the Ramblers to upset that team and keep things moving in what could have been a potentially magical run. Because if they made it to the semifinals, I would have talked myself like all the way. And
I think I would have too. I don't think I know would have. I know I would have. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be like, fuck it, we're beating all these teams. We're beating VCU, and then feed me SLU in the championship game. But yeah, so obviously I tried my hardest, even if it was giving false information before correcting myself to get us to win this game. But yeah, I got St. Joe's advancing there. Then in the next matchup in the semifinal, I've got VCU taking down St. Joe's. I just think that this is going to be a motivated VCU team as they find themselves firmly on the bubble, and I think the magic runs out for the Hawks in this one. Like you said, Phil Martelli Jr., they've done it again at VCU. We did it on one of the last episodes, but this is the standard in the A10. It doesn't matter how many coaches they lose, how many how many all A10 caliber players move on to either greener pastures or in Max Shulga and was it Jameer Simpson, the big guy, or whoever their big guy was last year that the Celtics were going to draft. And then they got jumped for Denver. I forget his name.
Was it like Rasheer Fleming?
Rasheer Fleming, that's who it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rasheer Fleming. Him. The Celtics were gonna draft him in the second round, and then I think Denver jumped them for him. I remember that.
Future Celtic great.
Yes, yeah, former future Celtic great. Obviously, yeah, I think VCU has got they've got everything clicking at the right time. I think, like I said, as they find themselves firmly on the bubble, they're going to find a way to get into this A10 championship game. And then they say, bubble be damned, we're just going to come in as the AQ. I think that St. Louis is already firmly in the field, but I think we're going to be looking at a 2-bid A10. I think we should be looking at a 2-bid A10 regardless at minimum. But I think VCU is going to leave no doubt and take down St. Louis to clinch a spot in the big dance. I've got VCU as my tournament champion. A little bit chalky from both of us now that I'm looking at it. We both have the 1 versus 2 in the championship game, so surely that'll go well. But it's going to be, we've been bashing Dayton as like, oh, I don't know who the fuck they think they are. It's going to be Dayton that wins it, and we're going to look like assholes.
I sure hope not.
But we both have the Rams cutting down the Nets in Pittsburgh at the end of this weekend. Couple things I wanted to touch on before we get out of here. Did you see a couple of these tweets the last couple days about some scheduling alliances, one hypothetical and one that's now agreed upon?
I have not, no.
So the hypothetical one, I tweeted about it yesterday. This comes from Rocco Miller, who he's a bracketologist at bracketeer.org, Field of 68 talent. He tweeted, I asked WCC Commissioner Stu Jackson about a future scheduling alliance, potentially with the new Pac-12, the Mountain West, the A10, the AAC, or the MVC. Summary, Pac hasn't shown interest. Mountain West, no early indications. Other 3 would be interested in a, quote, top 4 from each league alliance. To which I said, how is the WCC any better than the A10 without Gonzaga to suggest a top 4?
I would say that they're
alliance?
Probably worse.
Right. I mean, obviously you have St. Mary's. Yeah. So you have
Santa
St.
Clara
Mary's.
and like San Francisco's okay, but aside from that, I mean, what are we talking about there?
Right,
like,
yeah. A top
Pacific
4 teams
is awful. Pepperdine is horrible. Portland is terrible. San Diego is awful.
Former Rambler J.R. Blunt, shout out J.R. Blunt getting the head coaching job in San Diego. Love to see former Blurs making it big, but good for him for making the step up, leaving Iowa State. Yes, indeed. But yeah, I just don't know who the WCC thinks they are to be like, oh, well, we'll only do it if it's a top 4 scheduling alliance.
Especially losing Gonzaga, that weakens them just substantially.
Yeah. Right, 100%. Oh, what just happened? Oh, wow. Max Crosby is no longer getting traded to the Ravens.
Really? Looks like he's coming to the Bears.
So. I was going to say Patriot.
Well, I heard Brady isn't going to want to trade with...
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's separate discussion for a separate podcast, but fuck Tom Brady. Like, I'm so fed up with this asshole. First he had a dog in the fight, and now he I wouldn't trade with the Patriots. Okay, dude, yeah, go fuck yourself. I'm on the rant now, so I'm just going to finish the rant. You spent 20 years with your fucking snake oil salesman, Alex Guerrero, selling Patriots fans protein powder and fucking organic nuts for $70, and they ate it up like the assholes that we are, and now you dare say you don't have a dog in the fight and you won't trade with the Patriots? Go fuck yourself. Why don't you get some more plastic surgery and then lose your wife and family to a fucking karate coach, you fucking loser? Seriously,
I don't know
get
who the fuck. Why would you not just make the trade with that offers you the best deal?
Best return, period. Yeah, no matter who it's... Or, even better, do what Kevin McHale did and give the Celtics Kevin Garnett for free. Just give
Yeah.
us Max Crosby for free because you like us. Like,
Yeah.
throw us a bone. Your team sucks.
Yeah.
That was talking Tom Brady here on the Ramble On podcast. Second point that I wanted to bring up here from Matt Norlander. CBS Sports sources, the A10 and the American have agreed to a multi-year interconference series that will aim to up the non-con profiles of notable programs in those leagues. On tap next season, Dayton versus Memphis, St. Louis versus USF on November 29th. Matchups for 27 TBD. ESPN will air the games. For those wondering if it's just 2 games between the American and A10 next season, I'm told that is the plan. Dayton and Memphis and St. Louis, South Florida will be a doubleheader at a neutral site, location not finalized. I think it's such horseshit that we're doing these types of alliances and excluding, like, how is VCU not involved in this? Like, obviously, Loyola, they're a shitty team this year. It's tough to, like, really complain about not being involved in something like this coming off of an 8-win season. But VCU and Dayton gets in. I sent this tweet to you earlier, but Dayton versus Memphis in the former players turned coaches at their alma maters who should have been fired a couple years ago bowl.
Yeah.
It just sucks that we're starting to see these scheduling alliances, and it's not just every team in both conferences. Like, I think that's way more
I don't
beneficial
get
than
that.
just the
I mean, I
top
saw
4.
that the MAC and the Sun Belt had a thing this year, which was cool. Why not just have all the teams? And, like, also, why not play these games on campus? It's so much
Home and
better when
homes.
these games are
Yeah.
on campus. Like, you had, well, that's a bad example because it was not home and home. But the Duke, Michigan, I mean, you've got, I think, well, here's a good example. Duke, Arizona. I know they had a home and home. The
Gonzaga and
last
Kentucky.
2 years, Gonzaga, Kentucky. I mean, you can do these home and homes, and I think it's so much better than having it at a neutral site. But I don't know why they do that. But that's my take on that. Have everybody play and have the games home and home.
Yeah, once you get into a tournament format, I'm perfectly fine with the neutral site, but I think one of the best things about the regular season of college basketball is the home court environments. I don't know that there's
100%.
a bigger home court advantage than in college basketball, especially when you're talking about some of these smaller arenas. Like, it can really have an impact, and I just feel like having big games being played at neutral sites just kind of takes some of the soul away from the sport, and especially in the NIL day and age where we're already seeing enough of the soul being sucked out of the sport. Pause.
Agreed.
We need more home and homes, and I eventually would like to see a challenge get put together where all the teams are involved, because I don't think this is just going to be. I think the Ramblers are going to be better next year. I just call it blind optimism. Call it being a fanboy. Yeah, it would hard to be. It'd be hard to be much worse, to be honest with you. But I expect this team to return to prominence. I don't think that they're spending towards the top of the conference in NIL and what have you just to have another 8-win season. I think that they're either going to turn this ship around or major changes are going to be made, and then whoever the next guy that they bring in is going to be able to right the ship. I think that the investment level from the administration, from Steve Watson and the rest of the athletic department, that this type of season isn't acceptable. So I think things are going to turn around. Like I said, I don't blame them for not including Loyola in this matchup right now, but I do think it's ridiculous that it's only just 2 games. But I think I think that's all I have.
Yep, I don't have anything else. I'm just looking forward to the rest of this week, and obviously 9 days from right now, the 2 greatest days on the sports calendar will commence, and it's a great time to be a college basketball fan, and hopefully Loyola can get a win tomorrow, and we can keep on playing basketball ourselves.
Yep, I couldn't agree more. George, you teased it earlier, but we will be back at you with a Ramblers win tomorrow night, previewing the Davidson matchup on Thursday. That is, of course, contingent on the Ramblers winning. If they do fall and the season is over, we'll be back at probably a normal recording time, whether it be sometime next week, or even just maybe we'll just sit down and crank out a end of season pod after the game ends. After the game ends tomorrow, we'll have to see how the schedules line up. But we both have them winning, so I expect to be sitting right back here talking with you about the 9th Ramblers win of the season, and hopefully what is the start of a memorable run in the A10 tourney. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will talk to you tomorrow night.
Can't wait.